Wall Street Journal is out with a new report saying that the CDC may shorten the amount of time that someone needs to quarantine after potential exposure to COVID-19. We want to bring in Anjalee Khemlani to tell us a little bit more about this. And I think, Anjalee, the big questions here are, what can you tell us, I guess, about the new timeline, what we know so far, and then, of course, why the CDC is doing this?
Right. So while the CDC hasn't officially come out with this, the report does cite what we all know to be the incubation time plus infectious period for an individual. So they're looking at potentially 7 to 10 days. And that's what we know from watching this virus and what the studies have shown so far is the time period in which someone could infect another person. And so rather than having a full 14-day quarantine period, the hope is that with a shorter quarantine time period and adding a test as well, individuals would be more likely to follow that, especially as we're getting into a time of COVID weariness and COVID fatigue, of course, that playing into the reports of TSA travel numbers. This weekend, we saw more than 3 million people screened by TSA on 2 separate days, more than 1 million people. The last time that they surpassed 1 million people was October 18th. Meanwhile, on Friday and Sunday, both more than 1 million people were screened. And that is really concerning, considering that these numbers came just days after the CDC updated their Thanksgiving guidance to include urging Americans not to travel. Of course, as we anticipate, and as many health experts have warned, that post-Thanksgiving, if travel does surge, then so will the cases, so will hospitalizations, and so will deaths. And so all of this put together is really a concerning outlook for the coming holiday, but also, of course, going back to the guidelines, if they can adjust that, maybe some more adherence to go along with it. Shauna?
All right. Thanks so much, Anjalee.